Good morning, Robin sir. Vanakkam.
Morning, everyone. Vanakkam.
Yeah.
Hello, Karu. I thought that I just wanted to ask a couple of questions, right? So it is not based on theology or anything. It is based on the information which has been given in Genesis, uh, because I myself do not know the answer. I'm just asking. It is more of a logical question, right? Shall we go on that?
Yes, sir.
So you hear the title says that in 2150 BC, Abraham tested appointment as a substitute of Pandian. And when you speak of Pandian, it is not the kind of monarchy that it is more about the administration. Administration also means that how whatever happens in this world, that how that methods have to be in a righteous manner. That is what administration is about. It is not ownership, like, where uh, Pandian do at his will and everybody are subjugated. It is about a person that, or if Pandian may not be even a person, it is more of policies, the terms, conditions, that to do the right thing. So that, like, every one of us, it doesn't matter who is who, based on classification, that every one of us gets benefited from that, so that all of us can journey together, live together in a way that, like, which is uh, based on the virtue. A virtue is something that, like, doesn't give benefit to me or you. It's just that, like, that's the way that whether I lose something, I do something, even if someone else is getting benefit because it is the right thing, is what it is. So that is the way that I understand Pandian administration. It is not about person. It is not about group or anything. It is about all this. So when you say that Abraham was tested, then, like, it holds a great responsibility in order to do his work. He should have had connections with all the other ethnics, with everyone. So that, like, in a righteous way, that, like, he can think and say things to people to run uh, uh, everybody's life, whatever the interactions, be it business and life and everything. I think that since I intend to speak about something else, that I'm cutting short on that. Maybe that we can have a room where we can talk about what exactly is Pandit administration. What does it even mean? Because the world is full of very different administration. Monarchy, even in monarchy, in the indigenous culture, the monarchy was different, and is in northern part of this world, the monarchy is different. In northern side, people are subjugated to their king, and in indigenous culture, that, like, a king lived along with the people, and he is always from the people. So there are two, both are called as monarchy only. So in this one, that, like, on what basis that Abraham is a tested one or whatever. But the way that the descriptions, like, what I see in, like, Abraham's Genesis, that is Torah, uh, he's moving away from cosmopolitan culture, moving away from uh, Ur. There are two different Urs. Ur is there, exist. That is, one Ur is Mesopotamian definition. The reason why they say that, like, he came from Mesopotamia is based on the oral tradition. He lived in Ur and moved out. Then later archaeological evidence says that Ur was there, or not archaeological, actually that in historical references. And they said there is a place called Ur in Mesopotamia. So when Torah was written, probably referred that Ur belongs to Mesopotamia, because all this writing was done without even consulting any of the Tamil people. So no one really know that someone wrote this Torah saying that there is one city called Ur. Tamil had no idea at all, because even whoever wrote it, they had no idea about Tamils. Because if they come to Tamil Nadu, there are at least about 100,000, 500,000 villages, small towns, and everything, and ends with the title Ur for a very, very long time, even before Torah was written. So Ur has a meaning. The word has a meaning. It can't be just a city. So based on the other narratives, Ur could be another place in the Horn of Africa, the way our friends say it. So in both terms, whether be it like in a Mesopotamian Ur or another place in Horn of Africa ended with Ur, people kind of saying that Ur, because Horn of Africa was prone for invasion for time to time and change of monarchy, change of administration, varieties of it. Too many, like every other part of the world except Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, that didn't happen in that way. Genocide, there's too many. I mean, I can't even explain that many. So even if it is he is from Horn of Africa, he left that Ur, still that there were multilingual, multi-ethnic people there, and it was of course indeed a sophisticated one during the same period. He left that civilization and went into the wilderness with his family. So when he left, even without a child, how was he? How was he a person substitute of Pandyan, which where Pandyan were interconnected with almost every civilization to conduct the day-to-day activities in a righteous way. That's oldest history, which no one has an archaeological evidence or exactly one with the leftover. It doesn't point to anything. Only the remnants you can find it in every civilization. That's all. Now Abraham left. There is a number which is said that with how many people he left Ur, because he goes into he travels somewhere as he believed God guided him, and when he went, there was a war, in about 300 people. It gives the number something like his slaves and his other family, we can call it, whoever it is followed him as a family. Another reference, I think about 300 people, something like about 300 people or so. Is that anyone can confirm what I'm saying? Because I'm giving vague numbers here.
No, Robin, sir. No. Yeah.
It can be more than 100.
I'm not sure how many people was with Ibrahim when he left.
That is in Torah.
Yeah.
That is Torah, right? That's. But you've decided never to read any of the books other than Quran, so I don't know what to do with that,
Okay.
right? Because there are other account happens when you pass by that someone, I think Amalek or somebody fights with them and they fight back and they win. Yeah, they steal their sheep and all that. Then they go fight back. There it numbers 200, 300, something like that. But however, the thing is that it is more than 100. Great. I mean, it has to be more than 100. I mean, when we can't even logically agree something, that how can you even discuss? Hello, reminder. Please remind us that whether it can be 100 or not.
Yeah, so some enough people to be as a I mean as a colony or as a small so small group of people, because normally that time people used to not travel alone with some people also. So it
So,
could be
which
50,
means,
yeah,
no,
100.
I need numbers here because every question is a valid question. So, can that be more than 100?
Yes, yes, more than 100. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So after that, son was born, the sons were born. As they go, that they're supposed to acquire labor, slaves, workmen, whoever it is, or somebody come and join with them because they have uh, 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 no other place to go or the way people to be with. So they come and join. Basically, it's in the description of Abraham is a kind and generous, and welcoming strangers. Obviously, that could have happened, right? So the number should have increased from 100. Then comes uh, Joseph, what is his name? Sorry, Israel. This is original. I forgot his name. It slipped out of my mind.
Ismail.
So Israel,
Ismail came. He was firstborn was Ismail, and then secondborn was Isaac.
however, so no, I'm not talking about that. Then his grandson comes stating that
Jacob.
this is uh, Israel, and he had 12 sons through four wives, three wives, I think. Yeah, and Ismail, he goes and marry another woman. I mean, but according to the Torah, they say Arabic, which actually points out the Bedouins. If it is Arabic, especially the region and the timeline, you say that it was the Bedouins. So when Bedouins, they lived as family only, each family was considered as a tribe, and they always had quarrel. It is never great relationship between one another also. No. So that's where Ismail was. The number, is similar to the Abraham's. Uh, Either we take one narrative or we talk about both narratives, because
I think
both
we have to.
narratives
Yeah,
points out to
both.
different sections of people, right? Because Ismail narrative that goes to a different section altogether. That Israel's narrative goes to a different section of people, right?
Yes, yes.
So where Abraham stuff is come, what is the controversial subject? Is on the Ismail side or the Israel side? So let's start with the Israel side. Maybe okay. So when he had about 300 people or whatever, so 100 people plus. So then he had sons, and during grandson's time, that he marries four, and a guy definitely guy that pretty macho to handle that three, and obviously not only macho is not only about having women, it is also about how he administer his own world, how he acquired things and how he managed what he acquired. All that matters. But definitely you would have acquired more people also, supposed to be. Then the boys, they are growing up. When they sent Joseph, all of them are grown up. The Reuben wasn't. Matured guy. And they also have to acquire sons, I mean, to wives, sons and wives, concubines, sons and daughters, right? Yeah, because Israel was not like his grandfather with one, just two. It's he allowed people for four, I think three or four. Then obviously all the sons would have done that. Correct.
Yes, yes, yes.
Multiple was the primary uh, point of living there. Now, how many people, when they met Joseph in Egypt, how many people went to Egypt?
70 actually, 70 some all the 11 brothers and father and there were people around him, 70 or something like that.
There itself, 11 brothers are going. Then it becomes 60.
Yeah,
Then they'll have children.
yeah, yeah.
Then it keep going and going. That then the leftover number that is from Israel, how many people have gone? At least about 30, 40 numbers are gone.
Hmm.
Then it becomes that another 30 people are there, 20 people, 30 people.
Yeah.
Now you can ask a question to yourself. when Abraham was with more than 100 people, then obviously they would have multiple. There are numbers. And see, I am someone, even if I know that it is there, that I don't like to say it because I want people to say it. There are more than 300 plus, actually. But Israel, when they went to Egypt, they were outsiders, apart from whoever was born and their children. It was 20. What happened to the rest of the numbers? What happened to their multiple families? All the 300 people during Abraham time, obviously they would have also married to someone, and they were or like they would have given birth to a lot of children. What is this? Where are those people? It's a simple mathematics, right? When we read history and we forget mathematics, when we see mathematics, do we read forget history, or when we read both, we forget geography, or when we speak of all, we forget astronomy? This is what life is all about. How do we miss all that when people keep repeating over and over about Abraham, Israel, 12 tribes, Egypt? How do they miss all that? So, what is required when a logical thinking is required when, even though the informations are right in front of you, to know an answer? Well, who can come up with an answer? So, what can I say? So, once you do all the maths, come up with all of how many could have been missing and where they are. Maybe we can continue the conversation. Then we can
Yeah.
discuss how Abraham tested the substitute. Is it a single? There is one thing is possible when the kingdom or like vast kingdom is ruled by one king, and there's just you don't need to, because based on Greek mythology, it has happened. Greek history also, it happened really. All they have to do is just come and challenge one on one, and once the other person, the existing king, then he becomes a king based on terms and conditions. It has happened in history over times. In that way, that that person can be considered a substitute of Pandya. But here we are talking about administration of virtue.
Yeah, yeah. That means, like we have said, now that Pandian is means it's a
It
system.
is
It's a
not about the
system.
person himself.
Yeah, it's a system.
There were so many other Pandyan kings were there. It is not that everybody administered in the same way. After
Yes,
6th, 7th century, they didn't do that at all. But for
yes,
the lineage, they had the numbers. In between, here are one or two. That's it.
yes.
It
So
doesn't
that's
matter whether the country was
yeah,
flourishing or Pandya was no, Pandya was great, and all that. Whether they conducted the administration in a way of virtue. That is pretty doubtful. Not for everyone, at least.
yeah, yeah. I agree with that. Yeah,
So in order to do that, someone have to be part of all civilization and tribes. Looks like that Abraham didn't do that. Looks like the descendants, who they call, they didn't even practice that. What Abraham knew or what Abraham taught. Then through Ismail, where they went, this is pretty obscure. That type of administration, so many things, it is actually not there. It is overall, it goes back to the next level of prophet in the way that narration is there in the Torah. So all the people, same people as Ismail's family. So I'm leaving all the questions to yourself because I don't know the answer. That anyone find an
yes,
answer, please call me and let me know.
okay,
And
yeah,
after you do all the maths and come up with another level of discussion, and we'll discuss again.
yes.